I've always been fascinated by the pivotal moments that shaped our nation, and today's story is no exception. It's a tale of injustice and violence that has been largely forgotten, but its impact reverberates through time. We're going to explore the events surrounding the Colfax Massacre and the Supreme Court case that followed, United States v. Cruikshank. This is a story that deserves to be remembered. It was 1873 in Colfax, Louisiana. The air was thick with tension as armed white men surrounded the courthouse where black freedmen had gathered to protect their right to vote. What happened next was, well, nothing short of a massacre. Hundreds of black Americans were brutally slaughtered in what became known as the Colfax Massacre. In the aftermath, federal prosecutors sought justice. They charged over 100 white men with violating the Enforcement Act of 1870, designed to protect the rights of newly freed slaves. But only 9 men were actually indicted, and of those, just 3 were convicted. The case against these 3 men, led by William Cruikshank, would make its way to the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court's decision in United States v. Cruikshank was, to put it mildly, a devastating blow to civil rights. The court ruled that the federal government had no jurisdiction to prosecute these crimes. They argued that the 14th Amendment only applied to state actions, not those of private citizens. This interpretation, effectively stripped away federal protections for black Americans against racial violence. The ramifications of this decision were far-reaching and long-lasting. It gave legal cover to white supremacists and paved the way for Jim Crow laws across the South. These laws institutionalized racial segregation and discrimination, creating a system of apartheid that would persist for nearly a century. Moreover, the Cruikshank decision severely limited the federal government's ability to enforce the 14th Amendment. This amendment, passed after the Civil War, was intended to guarantee equal protection under the law for all citizens. But with the Supreme Court's ruling, racial violence could go unchecked, leaving black Americans vulnerable to intimidation, assault, and murder with little recourse. As we look back on this dark chapter in American history, it's crucial that we understand its lasting impact. The echoes of United States v. Cruikshank can still be heard today in ongoing struggles for civil rights and racial justice. By uncovering these buried truths, we can better comprehend the complexities of our past.
Imagine being barred from a playground simply because of your skin color. Under Jim Crow laws, this was the harsh reality for millions of black Americans. Across the South, public parks became battlegrounds for segregation, with black families denied entry or relegated to inferior, often poorly maintained facilities, if any existed at all. In cities like Atlanta and Birmingham, signs reading "Whites Only" hung prominently at park entrances. Black children watched from fences as white children played freely inside. But resistance grew steadily. In 1951, Baltimore became a focal point with the peaceful Gwynn Oak Park demonstrations. Black families, joined by white allies, repeatedly entered the Whites-Only Park, facing arrests, police brutality, and intimidation. Their persistence and courage drew national attention and inspired others. After more than a decade of protests, Gwynn Oak Park finally desegregated in 1963. Across the country, black communities organized their own picnics, built separate parks, and filed lawsuits challenging exclusion. These acts of defiance and determination chipped away at segregation, proving that access to public spaces was a fundamental right worth fighting for, and ultimately helped dismantle Jim Crow's grip on everyday life. During the Jim Crow era, Southern states enforced segregation and deliberately underfunded black schools to deny black Americans equal education. Despite these oppressive barriers, grassroots literacy movements emerged, fueled by communities determined to learn and uplift themselves. Black churches often doubled as secret classrooms, where ministers and volunteers taught reading and writing after hours, risking punishment. Women like Septima Clark pioneered citizenship schools in South Carolina, teaching literacy alongside strategies to pass voter literacy tests designed to suppress black votes. The Highlander Folk School in Tennessee became a vital training ground for activists, nurturing leaders such as Rosa Parks. Families shared scarce books in secret, facing threats of violence for the chance to read. Even children contributed by teaching siblings and neighbors what little they had learned. These collective efforts not only challenged Jim Crow laws, but also empowered generations, laying crucial groundwork for the civil rights movement. The fight for literacy was a profound act of resistance, demonstrating that education could serve as a powerful tool for freedom and social change.